What's it like to revisit this movie after 10 years?
We have revisited it from time to time. What is surprising is that it's sold out. It still perseveres. And I don't think we really, when it bombed in theaters, there's that feeling you're on a junket and you're about to go out and present the film. And, we just got a call from America. Film in the toilet.
So. I went to the opening day at the Cinerama Dome. It was me and like 20 other people. And it's, it's I don't have like 1,000 people can fit in that screen. So it's like, this isn't doing well.
Well, it's doing well now. I mean, it's got its fans.
This is something, though, that, there was a film I worked on with Protector long ago called The Monster Squad. Sunk like a stone. 25 years later, conventions. Last Boy Scout. Midnight movie. Long Kiss Goodnight. Midnight. What the fuck? It's like, yeah, okay. It's so nice that, look, when I did this film, I'll just do a brief aside. When I did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the producer came up to me afterwards and said, look, you made a good movie. The Dukes of Hazzard made a successful movie. Wait, remember that? Johnny Knoxville, Jessica Simpson? And they made so much more money than us. But later, I mean, you're watching these films that we did. Is anyone watching the Dukes of Hazzard? Is that on your slate?
No, it's been kicked around. We're maybe gonna include the pie now. Yeah.
It's just so odd that these things are like, hey, let's throw a stone. When's it gonna hit? I don't know, 15 years.
Let's go back to the beginning for the benefit of our audience here. Can you guys talk a little bit about, was there hey, what about these two guys? What about these two detectives working in LA, and what the genesis of the project was?
We wanted to work together on something. We were friends. I, sort of helped out on some stuff that Shane had done before then.
Oh, yeah.
Long Kiss Goodnight. And so we were like, we got to think of something. And we had these books we liked that were, 60s, 70s, pulp, two dudes who drive around and drink beers and, fuck shit up. So we're like, boy, that'd be fun to do. Let's do something along those lines. And how can we do something that's different? And for us, it was like, how bad can we make these guys? How unheroic can we make them?
Yeah.
And can we make, and you had the title Nice Guy.
Right. It was a joke we used to play where we would, we did a mock commercial for a film called Nice Guys, a friend of mine and I. David Arnold?
Yeah.
David Arnold's a friend of mine. He had a great game. I'll just throw this in. He had a game which was don't tell jokes, tell punchlines that seemed like there was a joke there. And he won the contest with, I don't know, but the priest just ate two of them. So that was, David and I used to have this joke, and then Anthony came along, and if you were a writer, and assuming you have friends, which is by no means a given, there is a game that everyone's tried, right? Where you say, hey, I'll write 2 pages, then you write 2 pages, everyone's tried, it never works. So we decided to try it.
Yeah, so we split up the characters.
Yeah.
And I took Healy, you took Marge.
And pretty soon it was clear that we couldn't separate them, because then once you get into it, it becomes a swirl.
So we kicked them back and forth, and then pretty soon, within the first act, we're just, all right, now we're writing these things together.
Yeah.
You also had Cop and Shrink, right?
Oh, that's right. That was one.
Yeah.
It was like Al Flotsam is a tough cop with a score to settle. Cynthia Jetsam is a court-appointed psychiatrist who needs a break. Together they are Cop and Shrink. That was David Arnold too.
So we get past Copping String.
Yeah.
We're kicking around ideas. We've decided to not do Eugene Jackson. I'll do.
And the thing is, the stories never really mattered because we have endless scenes of just these guys. It was a TV show we were trying to do.
Yeah, we wrote the movie. Nobody wanted it, so we wrote it as a TV show, and we ended up at, I guess I shouldn't say where or how, but we ended up at a network, and the network's like, we'll do the show as long as he doesn't lock Holly in the trunk. We'll do the show, cut that scene.
Yeah, in other words, we don't want him to be a bad father.
Right.
And once again, there's a point where, yes, you have to make some allowances for him.
But our other ideas were for shows were that, like, one was March is dating a girl much younger than him, and he's pretty sure she reveals to him that her parents had surrogates, and he starts to add up the numbers, and he's like, I could be her dad. So the whole plan is they're going to break into this fertility clinic and figure out if he's dating his daughter. And we're like, if you can't handle him putting her in the trunk, like, that's a whole episode. So.
Was this the version of the story when it was still like a then present day?
Yeah, present day.
Yeah, and by the way, we can say, the guy who came in was Les Moonves.
Les Moonves,
That's
yeah.
yeah, Steve says, guys, clarity, clarity, clarity. I said, well, okay, but we want to have complications. No. Well, we want to lock her in the trunk. No. Well, we're still here, and Les Moonves is. I mean, he's actually he may have been a nice guy or something. I heard he screwed up.
He's here tonight.
Yeah. But in other words, when Amazon took on the Bond franchise, they had this horrible blow-up. I was there that day. And basically, Barbara Broccoli, who controlled the 60-year-old Bond franchise, says, I refuse to make permanent decisions with temporary people. And that's what we have to remember, is that the people in charge, if they'd had their way, we wouldn't have this film. So there's a lot of people out there, their word is, what it's worth.
To be fair, they wanted it to make money when it came out. So.
When did it become a period piece?
So the TV show didn't go anywhere because it just we couldn't convince a network that it was worth doing. So our producer Joel Silver came to us and said, "Look, I got this money. I want you to do something with it. Make it as a movie. I don't want the earlier script that's present day. He didn't want it. Period. He just wanted it. He wanted a different plot essentially. And so we kicked it around for a while. And one thing was that like Chinatown has this. It goes back like 20 or 25 years. Finds some scandal that was Mulholland stuff about.
Sure.
And then, does this retro version of that kind of thing. We're like, well, we can do that. We're good at that.
Well, the reason for it was we were looking for a plot. Each of these iterations of the Nice Guys had a completely different plot. That's why I say it didn't really matter. It was just the two guys. But we just would throw a new story at them. And in this case, I've read a book. I like this author, David Strauss, who wrote it in the name Brett Howard. They wrote in the 30s, 40s, and 50s these private eye novels about Mike Shane. And the plots were great.
Blue Murder.
Blue Murder. I used one for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I was reading one, and it was about a porn movie where the plot was important.
And we just couldn't let it go. That was the
loved
thing.
it so
Yeah,
much.
it's just such a great idea. It doesn't feel like it's a big part of the movie. Although he does say it,
Yeah, he does say. But here's the thing: nowadays it wouldn't work because you can't destroy a copy of a film, and that's that.
Right.
It's the digital world would not accommodate us, and that started us thinking, well, what if it was period piece? And then we
And
had
cell phones.
What?
Cell phones.
Yeah.
Cell phones ruined this stuff because anytime you're anywhere, then someone's like, "Oh, my cell phone doesn't have a signal." Like, okay, well, then something bad's gonna happen. You can't call anymore.
And no one buys that anyway. The 3 bars. You know.
Yeah. The thing I love about this movie, among many, many things, is that it doesn't necessarily feel like a perfect, this is a photorealistic rendition of LA in the 70s, but it feels real within the reality of the movie, if that makes any sense. Like, the movie itself has a reality that it always sticks to. And I was, shot it in Atlanta, like I know that but you guys built this feeling of not only LA of the 70s, but also the feeling of reading crime novels. Like, it has that comfort, it has that page turner, like, I need to know what happens to these guys next, but I also slightly don't care because I just want to spend more time with them.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the relationship between these detective novels that you guys bonded over and how it informs the film itself?
It's my comfort food, and to some, you were into Chandler before I was.
Yeah.
And
But there was a series of books called the Hard Man books.
Hardman,
And
and his name was Jim Hardman.
Yes, it's Jim Hartman.
Hardman.
Yeah, but the books are Hardman, and they're written by a reporter, and they're all in Atlanta, and it's it's 2 guys driving around Atlanta just causing trouble, and I mean every one of the books has someone goes like, I'm gonna hit the road. Can I get a beer? And so he can have a roadie to drink as he's driving wherever he's driving. Like, that's a fun world,
Well,
like,
it's there. Have you been? It's still there. Louisiana, same thing. These books, these characters, the idea of 2 sort of lonely, we called them knights in tarnished armor, stumbling around. They're what passes for knights in this secular, stupid age. They're rescuing damsels. Now, that said, since we're doing knights, how much of a craven coward can we get away with before the audience decides they don't like this character?
yeah. And most of those things, like a lot of times, and this has happened with a bunch of stuff that we do, we'll be sitting around talking about stuff, and then just to amuse ourselves, we'll make stupid jokes. And every once in a while, Shane will go, no, let's do that one. And we're like, no, this is just a dumb shit that I'm saying. No, let's put that in the movie. Let's do that. So as they go up in the elevator, I'm like, they just get scared and come back down. It's like, let's do that.
That becomes like an iconic moment in the movie.
Yeah, this was one of
And what
those.
makes it so great is the elevator doors don't go quickly shut, they go slowly shut. And that's why it's good.
How much does the script change from, I know the sort of development story or casting story is essentially like, it gets to Gosling, it immediately gets to Crowe, they want to do it together, and it just happens, and you guys have been waiting for years, and then this is almost like overnight, this is going. How much does the script change at all, if at all, once you get these guys saying those words?
Well, not much until we got there.
We got to the
In a sec, because we did a table read, and Ryan hadn't told us anything. So he goes to sit down at table read, and he does things that are in the script, including that scream when his arm gets broken. There's a couple other things he did that were just insane. And we left the table read, Shane and I, and we're just like, God, we've got to kind of write to Ryan a little bit more, because Keely was this character, but he wasn't as pushed. And Ryan really wanted to go far. And so we spent every weekend rewriting whatever the next week's scenes were to accommodate what Ryan had been doing during that week, essentially.
Yeah, and it was worth it because you have magic people that elevate your material. So there are a couple of movies I've had that become sort of, people still see them after a bunch of time has passed, and it's usually because they have Robert Downey or because they have Ryan Gosling or Russell Crowe. You have magic people. And when you have magic people, what you write becomes boosted. They take what you've got, run with it, elevate that material. So that's what we look for, is magic people, because they will save your ass. Now, that said, if the script is, every time you have a directing problem, the script, if something was wrong with the script. So every time I go and see, yeah. I mean, I can't believe in the movie that there's a house burns down and then Marge's house burns down and no one says, oh, that sort of bumps, doesn't it?
I mean, more than that, like there's a lot of stuff we didn't care about because all the dates are wrong, right?
Completely.
Like the music is like the wrong time, and the stuff she has on her wall is like 2 years, and I don't think Jaws 2 was made yet. Like all of these things, we were just like, yeah, it's the 70s. I don't know if it's.
That's what I mean by the reality of the movie versus.
We had a thing on the first page that described, that was like our way of saying this is the 70s we're in, and there's smog. I don't remember the details. It was very poetic, but it was like there's smog and there's crime, and this is what LA is right now, and all this stuff. Very whole page of writing about trying to set people up for what the movie was, and we had this special effects guy who's no longer with us, and he's like, okay, I've made the crawl for the opening. And he just assumed we were going to crawl this like 5-paragraph thing on the front of the movie so we could do it. Like, no, that's just kind of for the reader.
I would also be remiss if I didn't point out that there's a scene in the movie where a kid basically get on a bicycle, offers up that he has a large penis.
Right, so you're not Willis.
He's here tonight.
What?
What? Where?
Why don't you stand up and...
Oh!
Stay by yeah.
I don't have a follow up. Tell me a little bit about. I know you just made reference to this, but I've seen it in interviews. You've talked before about, the best thing about being a writer director is that as a writer, you can solve your director's problems. You can go and write for Ryan if he's doing a different kind of performance. Is there anything like in terms of plot mechanics, or even just a moment from this film, since folks have just seen it and it's fresh, where you're like, that was actually the moment where the movie was going one way, and the writer, Shane and Anthony, could fix Shane's issue that he had to solve overnight or over the weekend with writing. Like something that got changed on the fly.
I mean, we changed a lot in the editing room, like the thing where we intercut different people talking about the film is spliced in. One guy says it, and then you cut to John Boy saying it, and it emerges because we had to compress and Tetris down scenes to get the pace correct. As far as changing, the biggest change I can think of is in the middle of the party shooting on the hillside. Ryan came in one day and says, hey, I just watched this movie, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. And I was thinking maybe I could try something like that. And by try something like that, he meant do a pitch-perfect, absolute, spot-on copy of Lou Costello. And it's great. And the other thing about that scene is, for some reason, and if you look on IMDb, apparently Robert Downey's in our movie as the corpse. He's not. No. But seriously? No, it's not him. Why would he do that? He's a busy man. Yeah.
You Will Never Be Happy. So we had the You Will Never Be Happy thing on hand, and we had a bunch of solutions as to why it was on his hand. One was that he would get drunk and go to this bar, and there's a girl there who's also drunk, and she would just write it on his hand and then leave. So he didn't remember, how did this get on my hand, or whatever it was. We had a couple others, but then when we got to the end, we never really paid it off. And so the editor, Joel Negron, had this idea of what happened is he runs down and grabs the canister of film, and he just played it weird where he went, oh, when he got it. And Joel said, what if we did an air cut of the can, and we could see that You Will Never Be Happy thing, and
part of it's smudged.
Part of it's smudged, so it's You Will Be Happy. And so he did it, like...
We shot that in a office against a green screen, just some guy that wasn't Ryan just putting his hand on a can over and over, and cutting into the film with CG background. And it wasn't getting applause at our preview screenings when he grabs the film can the way we had hoped it would, but when you tied it, when you snapped something else shut, when you closed a circle and paid off an earlier setup at the same time, now it was getting the reaction that we wanted.
That's really cool. That's amazing. Do you have any special memories from making the film, whether it was a performance outside of Ryan or Russell's that leapt out at you when you were doing it, that maybe exceeded expectations or shocked you or surprised you?
I mean, there's one hilarious thing we can't talk about. Okay. Joel Silver driving onto the set.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that.
Oh, we can talk about that. Not what
we had a. I mean,
yeah.
we had a taskmaster first AD, Nilu, who does all the Christopher Nolan films, and it was like nobody could come to me. Like he would kick me off the set anytime he got a chance. Like he was very like. So we're shooting. It's freezing. It's Stone Mountain, is that what it's called, in Atlanta?
Yeah.
And it's like -20 or whatever, and everybody's really miserable. We set up this shot of the cars after the party chasing each other. And we're about to shoot, and this fucking car drives right onto the middle of the set, and Neela loses it. And he's like, and Joel Silver steps up. And he goes, "What's your problem? I can park anywhere I want." And so it's these two guys just sort of in a standoff, and it's okay. Now it's going to take 20 minutes. Yeah.
For what?
Joel.
Joel always wins. Joel is a wonderful producer. I always plug Joel if I get a chance, because despite the reputation of being so caustic and abrasive that it sometimes is perceived as toxic he's called me a fucking schmuck every week for the last 30 years. So to me, it's like a storm that just goes over my head. He fired me with 3 hours to go on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Last day of shooting, he called me, "You think I can't fire you? You're fucking fired! I'll drive someone over there and finish the fucking movie." And so, but then 2 hours later, it's like a summer squall. It's like, "Oh, look, the sky's back." He's like, "Hey, let me tell you a joke." I said, yeah, and that's just the way he was. And so, yeah, we've had fun with Joel over the years.
I want to ask him, I hope it's not like a bittersweet topic, but I think a lot of people in this theater and a lot of people who've seen this film would wish there was more of it, and I wanted to, maybe even if it's not, Nice Guys 2 expected 2031, but like your attitude about these characters, because you've spoken so lovingly about them in interviews and about having so much more story to tell about them. So I was wondering if you could talk to me a little bit about maybe not only like your dreams for it, but maybe the frustrations that come along with trying to get maybe schedules right and everything like that.
Well, they call.
Yeah. You want to go into the studio and say, "Look, you want to do a sequel. It's going to cost, the actors got 10 million apiece, now they're going to get 20, plus it's, above the line is probably 16, and you get 150 for the movie. I made zip last time.
But it's beloved.
But it's beloved. Yeah, that's a hard get. That's a hard sell. But you'll understand, Mr. Goldwyn, it's beloved.
These are the no Holly in the trunk people. And you're like, listen, it's going to cost a shit ton.
Especially now, because it's all algorithm driven. It's all bean counters. It's all money now. It used to be that there was this feeling of, just let the guy run with it, because they're creative people and we have a respect for artists. And I think Nolan gets that, but Nolan delivers. He gets the money. We opened between this film, X-Men Apocalypse, Captain America Civil War, and Angry Birds.
And Neighbors.
And Neighbors. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. So it's like, I have all these films memorized, like Long Kiss Goodnight, The First Wives Club, shit on us. We were done. because of the first Wives Club. And every movie, The Dukes of Hazzard was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, you know, whatever.
We'd love to. Thanks for asking.
Would there be any kernel of further adventures of Helium or City View you want to share with the audience?
We had a couple.
Yeah. Sharing, probably not a good idea because it blows the energy.
Sure.
Like if you have an idea, I do two things. One, if I have an idea, I don't tell people because I'll expend the energy. Or I tell them to expend the energy so I'll have to work harder to make it even better. But you don't want to give away your ideas while they're still vaguely formed.
We don't want to work hard.
I wanted to see if anybody at the theater, because you guys have been so cool coming out, we have time for a couple of questions right there. Just speak up over the Odyssey. Yeah.
One of the things I love that you do with this and Kiss Kiss is set up a cliche we've seen 100 times before, like breaking the window and then flip it on its head. How much of that is like, do you have like, I want to do these, I want to burst these cliches, or are they just kind
Yeah,
of
we both like that. We both, it's not by accident that happens.
You're thinking about it, you're like, what if he breaks in the back through the window? And then you're like, that's not a very good idea. And then after a while, you try to think something better, and you can't. You go, what if we twisted it? So anything to not have to work any harder is like to flip it.
Or just not to be TV about it. Like, how many people see a movie where someone's on the ground in the dust and they're being strangled, and they see like a rock, and they're reaching for it, and there's like 5 cuts of them reaching for it, getting strangled, reaching for it. Just save your fucking film. They're gonna get the rock. That's the only thing that's gonna happen is they get the rock and hit the guy in the head with it. So the only way to make that scene work is they don't get the rock. Because everyone's expecting it, and it's just become tiresome in the vernacular. I mean,
We watch a lot of these movies, and after a while, you're just like, boy, I'm bored with that one. There should be something better there. And you run into them while you're writing, and you try and rethink them, and not be lazy.
yeah, I was very proud of myself many years ago because I had what I call the shortest hostage crisis ever. This was in the 80s. Someone goes, don't move her, I'm looking. And someone just shoots them in the head before they can even fit. And I thought, that's so clever. It's been done a million times now.
Yeah.
It's when I was in college, the newest thing, someone in a horror movie goes up to a shower curtain and the killer's inside. Not there. And then they turn and bang. It's right. We thought, wow, that's so new. You do it now, they go, that old chestnut,
Yeah.
fuck you. So it's a dance. What you're suggesting and what you're talking about is a dance. What's expected versus what becomes tiresome.
Right there?
Do you have any advice or lessons you learned from writing tvers where you were like buddy movies, or where you're kind of able to share the emotional through line of the movie through two characters? And Holly in this, I don't know.
Yeah. If you start your buddy movies, if there's any logic or strategy behind writing these sorts of two-handers. No, I was saying this for Anthony because he was particularly stringent and very emphatic about, yes, it's a comedy with a lot of goofy stuff in it, and it's an action-y film, but there had to be, like Anthony wrote the moment where Holly says, Mr. Healy, are you a bad person? And he says, I didn't kill her, of course not. He goes, good, I knew you couldn't do something like that. Moments like that really make the movie work for me, and that's the scene that
Take it seriously. I think a lot of people are like, we're going to write a fun movie, and they're going to do fun stuff, and then it's whatever it is. It's Tango and Cash. I've never seen Tango and Cash, but that's what it looks like to me in the trailer. And so I just take it seriously. It's a real movie. It's a real world, and if that through line works, then the jokes are funny, and the bullets still kill people, so it doesn't feel like just a lark.
Yeah.
Something that stuck out for me from when it released was dark and gray, and quite frankly, you see movies right now that are dark and gray. Can you talk a little bit about making it so vibrant?
Yeah, the visual look of the film.
It wasn't so much a factor of me, because at first I was kind of surprised by I had a wonderful cinematographer on the film, Philippe Rousselot. He lives in Paris, and he just did a recent one that he and I wrote called Play Dirty. Anyone see that piece of work? I thought the film had some good parts and some really great stuff in it, and when we showed it for you, we got an 86 score when we showed it to this many people. Somehow along the way, everyone feels like it was just a steaming three-coiler.
So that's why it looks nice.
That if you haven't seen it, well, give it a look and then don't listen to other people.
Did you find guys Did you find that you guys were pulling more from?
You can do a better answer than that. You like neon.
Yes.
You like the colors.
I do like warm colors, and so eventually I got behind this idea very much of, I died to make a movie in Tokyo with just that panoply of alternating blues and greens, warm colors, and then long stretches of bleak, deserted tableau lit by one lone beacon, like a savage, call in the night. I'm just shitting now. But yes.
Did you find that you guys were more influenced by, newspaper photography, like whatever the actual photojournalism from the 70s, or movies set in the 70s, or was it a combination of both?
No, it was supposed to be new. It was supposed to be a new film that felt old school. We didn't want to get into trying to copy the grain of 70s.
So I can make it look like on
Didn't shoot it on film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? All the way up there.
So you two clearly love these characters, and so I was wondering what about them initially excited you?
That's a good question. What about Healy and Rush initially excited you?
Anytime you have a two-hander in your head, the usual process is, if I have an older character that's arguing with a younger, impetuous character, the old guy's sort of staid, it's the two parts of my brain arguing. The part that's old and traditional and staid and grumpy, and the young, sort of adventurous part that feels like it's missed out. And then find the compromise is actually your own mind doing a therapy where it argues with itself. And now, this movie was not that, because he's Healy, and I'm Marge. I mean, we're just, I'm a fucking idiotic coward, and he's a well-meaning, self-improving Lummox. And I think we've all just felt like, you know what? All we have to do is, why invent a character? Just here. Just put your hand in, not type something. What? I don't care what you type. It's you. That's who this is. And
Stephen J. Cannell talked about that for Rockford Files.
Right.
He said there's all these shows like Mannix on the air at the time where Mannix was really cool and he was a detective. And he's like, well, what if I were a detective and I'm just kind of an idiot? And so that was his idea for Rockford Files. Well, I would fuck it up, and so how do we do that? And there's a lot of that going on. But I also think a lot of times people do two-handers. It's like, how can they argue all the time?
Yeah.
And these guys kind of get along in a weird way. And they're both equally idiotic in different ways. So they kind of felt like they would be friends eventually,
Eventually. Well, that's the thing. You just have to trust. A buddy film can be done well or poorly. It's writing about friendship. Friends don't have, like the two guys on Supernatural. I like the show, but they're pretty standard in the way they deal with their brothers. They're brothers, man. And we
did not expect to be talking about Supernatural.
So the idea of unlikely pairings of people who, and the other thing, the theme that I always come back to is the scene at the refrigerator, which Anthony, I think, started out where Healy starts to leave, March is drunk, and then March says, but you're not going to find her because it's not the airport. What? And so the idea is no matter how fucked up he is, no matter how cowardly or craven or how far he's fallen, that in the midst of this, there's this this kernel of something that marks him. It's unique. It's an ability, it's a striving, it's a curiosity. You can pour alcohol over it, drown it, kick it, beat it, squeeze it down till it's barely flickering, till the light looks like it's out, but it's still ready to kindle again. Whatever you do, there's a part of you and I think that's even on the Rockford Files. Jim Rockford is good at what he does. He's a messed up guy, he's a fuck up, but at the heart of things, there's a knit that you can't extinguish. It's just inevitable that part of his brain is going to solve that case because it can't not, because it won't stop working, even if he wants it to. And that's the characters we like.
Definitely comes across. That's a great answer. One more time. One more question.
Are there any elements of you that you kind of portrayed characters in the past, like Hawkins and Predator, for example, that you wanted to bring into this thing? Kind of like just, blasting past the memories that you kind of wanted to portray inside of this film.
You're talking about me as an actor trying to, I'm a bad actor. You know how you go into an audition if you're an actor, some you are, and other actors will come in while you're waiting for their audition. They'll come in and sit down and you share a room with them. So I'm waiting for my audition and a guy comes in and goes, I know that, I've seen him on TV, oh my God, he'd be great for this. Which is not the attitude an actor needs to have. One more question, it's not about acting, so you can answer.
Okay, one more question, right here.
Thank you very much for coming out, both of you tonight. I really liked, like what was mentioned before, the colors both at the porn party, the colors at the car show sequence were fantastic. But fucking fall from the top of the thing and he sees Nixon at the end, it just kind of buttressed by the Nixon story earlier by Crowe. Like, how did that all come together, man? 'Cause it was just fantastic. Like,
We heard that story, the Nixon story.
okay.
It was something that was like an urban legend. And we were like, I'm gonna put that in. That's so great. It's very
What's
cool.
your relation?
And then once you put it in, you're like, well, it's just kind of sitting there. We have to somehow come back around to it. So they made a Nixon mask and we stuck a guy in the pool. And, it just
Yeah.
right.
Just like in the dream sequence with the ankle holster, we thought, well, later, paid off. You all know this as writers, set up some payoffs. Rehearsals, set up some payoffs. Character truth. Your scripts, that's it. That's all you need. Set up some payoffs, character truth, rehearsals.
How about one last round of applause for Shane and Anthony. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you.